And we are back. So this lesson we will talk about regrets. Things that happened in the past that we wish didn't happen. So let's look at our grammar point for the day. So our grammar point today is our third and mixed conditionals. So we have two grammar points. Now we already did a lesson about zero, first, and second conditionals. So if you missed that, feel free to toggle back and take a look if you need a refresher. Okay, so we're going to start with our third conditional. So this form is if, past perfect clause, past tense modal, and a past participle. So if I had called earlier, I would have gotten a reservation. So the third conditional is also a kind of hypothetical, except in this situation, we're talking about untrue situations in the past. So we're describing past actions that cannot be changed and possible outcomes if they were different. In this particular kind of conditional, our if sentence describes a past action that did not happen, and the next sentence describes a different past outcome. So our if is something that didn't happen, but if it did happen, there would be a past outcome. So often we'll use signal words such as never or maybe, along with our perfect form. For making conditional sentences, in red we have the truth. So the hypothetical, if you had called me, I would have come to meet you. So the facts are you didn't call me and I didn't come to meet you. If I hadn't slept in, I would have been on time. The facts are I did sleep in, I slept in, and I wasn't on time. If we hadn't stopped for burgers, we would have made our plane. So we did stop, get hamburgers, and we did not make our plane, so we missed our flight. Now, these three sentences are good examples of regrets or scolds. So the first sentence, if you had called me, I would have come to meet you. So the fact that you didn't call me means I couldn't meet you. And that's too bad. And the second two, if I hadn't slept in, I would have been on time. It was a regret. And if we hadn't stopped for burgers, we would have made our plane. This was also a regret. With third conditionals, we usually use our past tense modals. So the most common one would have been. That is our most common when we talk about conditionals in the third case. Might have been and could have been are also possible. But the arrow it is describing the top is most certain and the bottom is least certain. So if you had called me, I would have been able to come over. That is most certain, and I could have been is least certain. So I could have been a doctor is not as certain. So here are some examples using words other than would have been. So we're using would have been, might have been, and could have been. If I had tried, I could have been a doctor. The facts are, I didn't try, but it was around 25% possible that I could have been a doctor. If I had gone earlier, I might have gotten a ticket. It was possible, it was around 50%. I'm not sure that I would have gotten a ticket, but if I had gone earlier, I might have gotten a ticket. If I had been there, I would have talked to you. The facts are, I wasn't there, but it was 100% possible. So if I had been there at that party, I would have talked to you, definitely. So let's do a review of our zero, first, second, and third conditionals. Our zero conditionals are things that are always true. Our first conditionals are likely situations or predictions in the near future. Our second conditionals are unlikely present or future situations if the first situation was different. And our third conditionals are past situations that did not happen, and talking about possible outcomes if they were different. So before we try mixed conditionals, let's look at common signal words for each of these zero to third conditionals. So zero, I always have an umbrella if it rains. So remember, this is a good signal word because it's a habit and it's something that is always true. First conditionals, if it rains, I'll just stay home. So the common signal word here is I will. I'll just stay home. So if the first situation happens, these are my plans. The second conditionals, if it were raining, I would stay home, but it's a beautiful day, let's go outside. So were and would are our signal words. And third conditionals, if it had rained, the concert wouldn't have happened. It did rain, the concert did not happen. Now let's try mixed conditionals. So these are not the same as 0, first, second, and third, but they're a combination of different time frames. So let's take a look. So here is a very common example of a mixed conditional. If I had gotten tickets, we'd be at the concert now. So we would be at the concert now. So the first part is a past action that didn't happen, and the second is a present state that could be different if the past action did happen. So if I had gotten tickets, we'd be at the concert right now. The facts are, I didn't get tickets, and right now we are not at the concert. So there are many kinds of mixed conditionals, but the most common is when we are talking about a past action that would make the present different. And this is very useful when talking about regrets, because if you did something in the past, then the present would be very different. And a common signal word for mixed conditionals of this kind is right now. So whenever you see the word now or right now, this is usually a symbol of a mixed conditional with a past action that was not true. You might be wondering, what's the difference between a third conditional and a mixed conditional? So let's look at these two sentences. The third conditional, if I had studied harder, I would have passed the test. So both of these events happened in the past. The facts are, I didn't study hard and I didn't pass the test. So these both happened in the past, but if I had studied harder, I would have passed the test. A mixed conditional is if I had started studying earlier, I wouldn't be so stressed now. So the facts are, I didn't start studying very early, and I am very stressed right now. So take a look at be and now to signal this particular kind of mixed conditional. So in the third conditional, both are in the past, and in the mixed, something's in the past and something is in the present. So these three examples are with mixed conditionals. If last year had been different, I would be in Greece right now. If we hadn't broken up, we would be married right now. If Kevin hadn't moved to California, he would be a very different person now. So let's review what this means for mixed conditionals. If last year had been different, I would be in Greece right now. So the facts are, last year happened, and I am not in Greece right now. So maybe travel was not possible last year, so right now I am not in Greece. If we hadn't broken up, we would be married right now. But the facts are, we broke up and we aren't married right now. If Kevin hadn't moved to California, he would be a very different person. So the facts are, Kevin moved to California and he is this person now. So if he didn't move to California, he wouldn't have the experiences he had in California, and he would be a different person now. But the fact is, he is the person he is. Now, I want you to remember our trick, thinking of the truth first. So, when you're making a conditional, it's usually easier if you think of the facts. So, I'm not rich, I won't buy an island. But if I were rich, I would buy an island. Let's practice these. So our first practice sentences are going to practice using the third and mixed conditional. And remember, these are all past things. And the mixed conditional is one present thing. So look at these sentences and decide using the verbs study business, become, not go, not learn, not meet, and not be. So remember to make these into past situations. So these are the basic form of the verb, and let's make them past in a conditional sense. And make sure you look at the truth. I didn't study business. I didn't become a banker in the past. I went to Japan. I learned Japanese in the past. I did meet my professor, and I am an architect Now here are the answers. If I had studied business, I would have become a banker. So remember the truth here. I didn't study business, and I did not become a banker. But if I had studied business, the untrue past situation, I would have become a banker. This was my intention in the past, if the first sentence were true. If I hadn't gone to Japan, I wouldn't have learned Japanese. So the facts are, I did go to Japan, and I did learn Japanese. If I hadn't met my professor, I would not be an architect now. So here we can also use the negative form. I wouldn't be or I would not be. In this case, would not be is a little bit stronger than wouldn't be. But number 3 is an example of the mixed conditional. If I hadn't met my professor in the past, I would not be an architect now. So here is our conversational practice. In this situation, we are talking about regrets. So things that would make either the past or the present very different. So remember our third and mixed conditionals. In brackets, we have the basic form of the verb that we need to translate into a past situation or a present situation. And make sure you look at the words around these sentences to give you a clue or a signal. So not study, not be, not become, not go. So you did study English, you are a teacher now. I did become a teacher, I went to Japan in the past. These are our truthful explanations. So take a moment and fill in the blanks with our third or mixed conditional. Okay, so let's see what happened. If you hadn't studied English, you wouldn't be a teacher now. So in the past, if you hadn't studied English, you wouldn't be a teacher now. But the facts are, you did study English, and you are a teacher now. The key word here is now. That shows us that's a mixed conditional. If I hadn't become a teacher, I wouldn't have gone to Japan. So these are both past situations. Remember, if I hadn't become a teacher, I wouldn't have gone to Japan. The facts are, I did become a teacher, and I went to Japan. So here's just 2 very easy examples of our mixed conditional and our third conditional. Let's read this through. I wish I had studied business in university. Really? But if you hadn't studied English, you wouldn't be a teacher now. That's true. And if I hadn't become a teacher, I wouldn't have gone to Japan. And that was an amazing experience. Unbelievable job. Conditionals are very tricky, but we've made it through the 2 most difficult ones. So third conditionals and mixed conditionals, when talking about regrets, are very useful, and now we've done it. So hopefully you feel more confident the next time you're talking about things you wish had happened in your life. Thank you again, and we'll see you in the next lesson.